everybody, my name's Lynn Hayes. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the basics of astrology. This could be for beginners. This could also be if you're an expert, but you're just looking for a different point of view. You'll probably find something to enjoy in this video. We're going to be talking about all the basic terms, what it means when planets are square each other, what it means when they're trine, opposing each other. These are all terms that I use in these videos, and while I try to explain them, I know a lot of you are completely new to this and they may not make much sense at all. So it's my goal to help to educate you and to help you to really understand these underlying energies so that you can get the most out of them in your life. So without further ado, let's begin. The first thing that we need to know is that a horoscope is not a prediction for your sun sign. A horoscope is actually a map of the sky at a particular time. So if we do a horoscope or a chart for somebody at the time of their birth, we call that a birth chart or a natal chart. If we do a chart for an event, we might call that an electional chart. If we do a chart for a country, a nation, we call that mundane. Primarily in these videos, I'm talking about where the planets are in the sky right now and how we are all affected by this. And this changes because each of us have a natal chart or a birth chart, and they're all different. They're like snowflakes. Well, they're not exactly like snowflakes because there are more than one that are the same. Obviously, 100 people born at the same moment will have the same chart, but they will not be the same person. But in any case, we're all affected differently by the movement of these planets. Still, if it's raining in your town, it's going to rain on you and it's going to rain on me. We're both going to be affected. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about in these videos. So in order to understand how these energies work, I think it's important to know about the signs and about the planets and about the way they interact with each other. The first thing we should talk about is the 12 signs of the zodiac. The signs begin with Aries and they end with Pisces. And the signs describe a journey of the personality through 12 different experiences. With Aries, we have a drive to assert the will. Aries can be impulsive, courageous, independent, adventurous, a trailblazer. Aries is ruled by Mars, and they're meant to have a strong will and assert it. Each sign reacts to the one before it. Taurus, reacting to the impulsivity and aggressiveness of Mars, becomes stable and grounded. Taurus is very concerned about material security and comfort, and tends to be very stable and to be able to persevere through any difficulty. Then we have Gemini reacting to the stability and groundedness of Taurus by seeking many, many different experiences. Under the influence of Gemini, there's a great deal of communication. Things become very changeable. There's a hunger for new information. Then we move into Cancer, which again reacts to Gemini, where Gemini is all about information and not really very sensitive emotionally. In Cancer, emotion becomes the most important thing. Feelings and connection and families and tribes and helping other people, taking care of them. Then after Cancer, we go into Leo, which reacts to Cancer by saying, wait a minute, it's not all about these other people, it's about me. Leo is about self-expression. It's about joy and it's about the happiness that we find in life. It can be very playful and it can be dramatic. So then Leo is followed by Virgo, which reacts to Leo by saying, too much drama, too much self-centeredness. I need to be serving others. Virgo is very much concerned with the details of the body, with the details of life, the mundane things that we have to do because we live in a body, and most importantly, service to other people. There's a humility in Virgo that we haven't seen so far in the zodiac. But then Libra comes along and reacts against Virgo by saying, but wait a minute, we have to have beauty in the world. We have to have love. We have to have some of the more refined attributes of the human experience. And Libra is about relationships. It's about love. It's about interconnection between people. Then we go into Scorpio, which reacts against Libra by saying, oh, that's all too superficial. You're too nice. You know, what about the real stuff that's going on? And Scorpio is about passion and intensity and drive. Passion is a water sign of emotion, but it's ruled by Mars, so it's a fiery water sign. Passion is under the influence of Scorpio. Everything becomes more intense as we really go deep. We do a deep dive searching for truth. And so then we move into Sagittarius, which reacts against Scorpio by claiming an adventure, by looking long range into the future and wanting to understand the higher knowledge, the higher wisdom. Sagittarius doesn't like to pin down, doesn't really want to go to those deep places that Scorpio tends to take us. And then Capricorn reacts to Sagittarius by really putting our feet on the ground and saying, let's create something lasting. Let's build something important. Let's become successful. Let's make a lot of money and have nice things. It doesn't matter. Forget your goals and those, high-flying ideas. It's all about what's practical. And then from Capricorn, we move into Aquarius, which reacts against Capricorn by saying, no, it's not all about the details. There is genius to be had. There's awakenings. There are radical changes that we can make. We can have a life that is more complex than what you have in Capricorn. And then at the very end, we move into Pisces, which says, all of you are wrong. It's not about any of these things. It's about letting go. It's about surrender. It's about experiencing the divine and having a true experience of bliss and of creativity and imagination, the kinds of things that lift us out of this mundane reality and take us to a place that is more transcendent. Then, of course, we start all over and we go from Pisces into Aries. It's not like any of them are better than any of the others. When we move from Pisces to Aries, Aries reacts against Pisces by saying, oh, you're just dreaming, all of this, none of that's really true. But look, let's take some action. Let's do something exciting. So those are the 12 signs, and that's how they all work. Now let's talk about the planets. So in astrology, we talk about planets and we also talk about the sun and the moon. We call those luminaries. But often I will just lump them all together for convenience and call them all planets. When I'm looking at the planetary energies that are in the world right now, which I talk about every week, and I post a video every Monday, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm talking about the sun, the moon, what we call the personal planets, which is Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter and Saturn. I also talk about the outer planets, which I think of as being transpersonal, and that's Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And I also talk about Chiron, and Chiron has an orbit between the personal planets and the outer planets, and it acts as a bridge from our personality, our personal lives, our individuality, to the outer planets, which inspire growth and inspire transformation. Each of the personal planets represents an aspect of the personality. Mercury represents the mind and communication. Venus represents the way we love and connect to other people. It also represents our aesthetic sensibilities, our tastes. Mars represents our drive, our desires, how we go about getting what we want, and how we defend what we have. Jupiter is the expansive principle. It represents optimism and confidence. It shows us where we find meaning in life. It also can motivate us to follow our dreams and achieve our goals. Where Jupiter is very expansive, Saturn is very contracting. I like to call Saturn the mentor that tells us when what we're doing isn't good enough. So Saturn can feel kind of depressing and critical. If you're having a Saturn transit, you often feel like you can't move. And then sometimes under the influence of Saturn, we feel blocked. Saturn's real goal, though, is to encourage us to work harder, to make a plan, to be very grounded, and to build something. And then we have the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I think of these as being transformational forces. So under the influence of Uranus, we are inspired and motivated and sometimes kicked in the head to create a change if a change is needed. Uranus breaks us out of ruts. It's the paradigm shift. It's the revolutionary. Neptune is the planet of transcendence. Neptune is all about magic and imagination and creativity. And this can be beautiful and wonderful when we reach for the higher expressions of Neptune through meditation, spirituality, artistic endeavors. It can also create confusion, illusion, and delusion. Everything in astrology, there's nothing really good and nothing really bad. Everything that we think of as good has negative qualities. Everything that we think of as bad can be very useful and helpful in our personal growth. That's a good segue to talk about Pluto, because Pluto is the planet of destruction and regeneration, and Pluto can be somewhat scary until we begin to understand that Pluto's role is actually to create the kind of transformation that we need to experience in order to grow. Influence to help us to grow and to become more empowered and more authentically true to who we really are. Then there's another little body called Chiron. Chiron was discovered in the late 70s. Chiron is associated with wounding and healing. A lot of people call Chiron the wounded healer because it has to do with wounds that we have to heal. And while that's true, I really prefer the term soul healer, because in healing these wounds and in allowing these old painful patterns to emerge and be released, we're actually freed, we're liberated, we're healed from those patterns. And then we're more easily able to help others. So Chiron really helps to facilitate our ability to do service in the world and to act as a mentor and a healer for others. One thing that often confuses people is, what does it mean when a planet is in a sign? I'm going to have a diagram that's going to pop up that's going to show you exactly what we're looking at when we are looking at the astrological pantheon. We're talking about ourselves as the center of the astrological universe. And so we actually observe the planets just as Ptolemy did many, many years ago. So I like to use this diagram to show people exactly what we're seeing. So we're observing the planets as they appear in the sky against the backdrop of the constellations. And you will see that the band of the Zodiac Signs that reference the constellations goes around the outside of the chart. And this might be a good time to sort of throw in this idea of Ophiuchus. You know, people say, oh, there's a 13th sign, your signs are wrong. But that's not actually true. Astrology is not astronomy. We're not looking at the exact constellations. The constellations don't make up neat little 30-degree segments that we stick the signs into. And Ophiuchus is between Scorpio and Sagittarius, but it's outside really of the path of the sun. So it really doesn't fit into the story at all. So it has not changed your sign, and do not worry about that. So when we're talking about a planet being in a sign, think of the planet as being the who The sign is the how. Then when we talk about natal astrology, we start putting charts in houses, which we'll do later in another video. Then the houses become the where. Where is that planet most likely to have an effect? But for our purposes right now in understanding these videos, when we're talking about Mercury, which is in Libra, I believe, we're saying that as we look at Mercury in the sky, we're looking at it against the backdrop of Libra. Mercury, being the planet of communication, manifests in a Libra type way, which has to do with balance and integration and partnership and negotiation. If Mercury is in Aries, then our thoughts and our ideas and our mental function and our communication and language is more Aryan. It takes on the style of Aries, which is more aggressive, more assertive. And then the same is true for all the other signs. And then the last concept I want to talk about is the different angles that the planets make to each other. So often in these videos, I will say, oh, the sun is in a trine to Mars. So what does that mean? A trine is a harmonious aspect. There are harmonious aspects and there are challenging aspects. Now, often people will say, oh, that's bad, isn't it? But challenging isn't always bad and harmonious isn't always good. I like to explain aspects in terms of personal relationships. So when you have a conjunction, that's when two planets are right next to each other in the chart. They're fused together. That's like your best friend or your husband, or your wife, you're always together, you're working together, ideally as a team. Then we have a sextile, which is a harmonious aspect. And we have a trine, which is another harmonious aspect. The trines are like your friends that you're very comfortable with. You like to just sit around, watch TV, maybe drink some coffee and talk with them all day. It's very comfortable, but nothing really happens. Then the sextile is a more stimulating aspect. Under the sextile, it's harmonious, but there's some excitement, there's some energy that's generated. So whenever there's more energy generated, there's more action, there's more opportunity for growth and evolution. So then the challenging aspects are the square, the 90-degree angle, and the opposition, the 180-degree angle. The square brings about conflict. So let's say we're talking about, right now in the sky, Mars is in Aries and it's square to Saturn. It's 90 degrees almost exactly right now. So these two planets are in conflict. When we have conflict, it creates a crisis that requires resolution. Yes, that's bad, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, it's challenging, it's difficult, but something is resolved as a result. The 180-degree aspect, which is called the opposition, creates tension. One side has what the other one wants, and they don't really connect, but they're not really in conflict. Those two planets are going to require some integration. So I try to explain this in the videos, but I hope that this is going to help them to make more sense to you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.